What's up everyone? Today we're going to be doing some work on the E46 M3. Just little tidbit things I need to finish up. One, the oil cooler, still not completely finished. I got that longer hose for the power steering reservoir so I can clear the new AN lines. I kind of want to do that, but even before that, I do want to mess with the intercooler piping since I've removed the OEM oil cooler and the oil cooler lines that were OEM. There's a little more clearance to kind of better position those intercooler pipes, which I had some issues with previously. Then while I guess even before that, the supercharger, you can actually change the oil inside of it, kind of like a little oil change within the unit. It might be a good time to do it because the power steering reservoir is usually in the way, but given the state that it's in, maybe now's the time to do it while it's easy to do so. So a lot of little things today, so gonna get started. To change the oil on the supercharger, this is a drain line, so I'm gonna feed this underneath the car, and I still have that oil pan down there to catch the oil coming out of it. So that's to drain it. To fill it is this port here. It's just a hex head. This one looks similar, but this is actually a vent. So I'm going to crack this open, and I think it also has like a little dipstick in there. So let's crack this one open. Yeah, so it's just kind of like an oil dipstick where you can check the level of the supercharger oil. So all those red liquid indicators there is a good sign that there's still the right amount of oil in there. And Weathertech also has its own oil that they use for their superchargers. I think it takes a whole bottle of this to fill up a unit. So let's do that real quick. There goes the supercharger oil. Coming out nice. While the oil is draining on the supercharger, I'm going to remove this extra coupler on the intake manifold here. For those that weren't or didn't watch the earlier videos, I put that extra coupler there to kind of lengthen the intercooler piping because the oil cooler used to be in the way of the intercooler piping down here, but since the oil cooler is kind of removed, I want to remove that extra coupler up there and see if I can move this intercooler piping upwards. Again, in my earlier videos, this side sagged lower on the car because of the oil cooler being in the way. So I'm gonna do that next. It's just the extra hose I added to the kit because the piping wasn't long enough, again because of the oil cooler being in the way. I'm trying to make do without it. Just trying to get out the other coupler that I needed to add to make that extra hose work. There you go. Now the moment of truth is, with the oil cooler out of the way, is it enough to reach the intake manifold? Close but no cigar. I think the oil cooler or OEM one being removed definitely improved the position of the intercooler piping underneath. It got a little bit closer to that intake manifold, but I still need to use the extension. It's just not quite there, so gonna put it back on. It is what it is. And just to show you guys, I even jacked up the piping from underneath to kind of try and make it up there. But even without the OEM oil cooler, the clearances are just super tight. I think the thing that's in the way is maybe that sway bar. It is aftermarket. But yeah, not sure what else is in the way, but still too short in my setup. Now that the oil is drained from the supercharger, I'm gonna go ahead and fill it. This is an awkward angle. I think I just have to go for it. There might be some spillage. You know what? Let me put a rag first. Okay. 1, 2, 3. On to replacing the hose that goes to the reservoir. 2 reasons I'm changing this hose. One is when this sits back on here, this hose has to make it over the new AN lines. And I think it will make it, but it's just super taut and I want to give it some strain relief. Additionally, the second reason I am replacing it is because down here the hose is leaking. I think that's as close as I can get to that joint, but not sure why it's leaking. I think it's not, the hose is not having a good seal around the barb on the power steering. But either way, I need to replace it for the clearance up top. But I'm hoping it'll solve this little drippage that's coming down here. Got the power steering hose off, and it's draining. Now to get the other line. I got the reservoir off. I already fished a new line up here. And this is the old line. This is going to be a tight bend because the original line had a formed 90. So the reservoir has to sit here. And I'm going to do my best to kind of give it a 90 without kinking the hose. I'm in the process of refilling the oil cooler, the new one, with some oil. Thankfully, just a good opening for me to do so. Ooh. Don't know how much it's supposed to take. Oh well, there's no indication for me that it's full. Only until it kind of, uh-oh, I think it's full. And I guess that's how you know you have it filled to the top. Time to put back some power steering fluid. Hopefully I have enough. Got a new oil filter. Get a rag. Gonna refill the oil filter a little. Okay, the car is back on the ground. I don't like starting it up on the quick jacks. I don't know if that's a rule, but yeah, I prefer to start the car when all four wheels are on the ground. Got everything hooked up that's needed to start. Left like the intake hose off. That's not needed. Yeah, I wanted to crank it without actually turning it over. Ooh, let's move that wrench out of the way. Just to kind of build up oil pressure and whatnot. I was talking to some people and they said, so long as I pre-filled the oil cooler, maybe it's not as critical. The car's gonna have some cranking going on anyway, because with E85 it usually takes more than one try. But yeah, I'm gonna turn it over and check for leaks. Okay, that's a wrap. I got the new oil cooler in. It's running. Checked for leaks. I don't see any. I just got to check the engine oil level, because with a smaller oil cooler, I'm not sure if like the capacity changes any. But other than that, it's all good. Till the next one.